Hey, good morning. It is Monday, January? I never know the date. January 19th, Monday, January 19th. Here we are, almost two-thirds of the way through the first month of 2026, right? Is it 2026 now already? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today is going to be a relatively quick live stream. I know I've been saying that a lot lately, but got a couple of new things going on and have a very specific thing that we're going to chat about here for a couple of minutes. And then we're going to get on with our day and go out and crush it on Monday. But before I get totally started, I'm curious how many of you have gotten on any kind of a path here in this first 20 days of the year. Can anybody raise their hand and say that they are making more passive income in their lives than they were on January 1st? Because remember, guys, this is kind of the theme of 2026 is going to be, passive income. You're going to hear that a lot. I'm not going to get into it a whole bunch for those of you that are newer to the channel. Maybe you didn't listen to last week or the week before's Crypto Monday Mindset Mastery. Go listen to those last two or three and you'll get caught up. But long story short, guys, $1 million in the bank at 6% interest creates $60,000 a year in income. If you divide that by 12 months, that's $5,000. So if you've got person A here on one hand that's got $1 million saved up, they've worked 20, 30, 40 years, built up $1 million, and now they want to invest it safely. They got $60,000 a year in income, $5,000 a month. The second person went out and created an asset, a book, a training course, cryptocurrency platform that spits off cash flow or spits off passive income, Texit coin miners, trusted smart chain nodes. There's a lot of different ways out here in this life that you can create passive income. But let's just say person B goes out and creates, $5,000 a month in passive income through a business idea. Our contention here on the channel, we really believe that if you take the two people, the guy that's got $1 million in the bank and he's earning $5,000 a month, the guy who went out and created the passive income of $5,000 a month in income stream is just as wealthy and is just as well off, and in a lot of ways is better off. Because if the guy that has the $1 million all of a sudden decides that he needs more than $60,000 a year, he doesn't have $1 million. If the guy that's got $1 million all of a sudden decides that he wants to, spend a couple $100,000 on a down payment for a house, he no longer has $1 million, and now his $800,000 is only going to create $48,000 a year. The guy with the business, the guy with the passive income stream that's coming in $5,000 every single month, that continues to flow in as he uses it. The other thing about that example, fellas and ladies, that I want you to understand is the guy that has the $1 million has a lot more trouble creating more money in his life. In other words, if he wants to go from $1 million in the bank, making him $60,000 a year, to $2 million in the bank, earning him $120,000 a year and doubling his lifestyle, how long did it take him to build up the first $1 million? We probably, on average, 40 years. So if he wants to build up another $1 million, he'd have to work for another 20, 30, 40 years. The guy that creates the $5,000 a month income stream has also learned valuable skills and has put himself in a position where he can double that from 5 to 10 much faster and much easier. Once you've learned how to create the first $5,000 passive income stream, the second and the third one are going to be much easier generally, or even just doubling down on the first one. So anybody that's watching today got anything going on, throw a one in the chat, or let us know if you've got something going on since the first of the year. It's important to get into action. Like, even if your passive income went up 25 cents a day, you realize, it's a process, but you realize if you created $1 a day in passive income, that at the end of the year, you'd have 365 bucks, a day coming in passive income, $1 a day, and then $2, and then $3. So, like, if you could just create, what do you got to do to create $1 in passive income? Anyways, that's not what today is about, but I did want to mention that again. I really want you guys focused, man. I know that focus is key. Awareness is half of the battle. And so if you wake up in the morning and one of the first questions you're asking yourself is, how can I create passive income? That's a powerful question, and it's something that I really want on your mind. So, even if it's, you're here 19 days later since we had those discussions and you haven't done anything in that direction, or maybe you haven't come up with any ideas on how you can create passive income, keep asking yourself. Your subconscious mind is powerful. If you continue to train it by asking that question, how can I create passive income today? Eventually it's going to start spitting out some ideas, and some things are going to start heading in the right direction, and you're going to be able to see the needle in your life moving in that direction. So, on to the main content. And then, like I said, today's going to be a little bit shorter. I want to talk to you guys today about a program called 75 Hard. And part of the reason that I'm talking to you about it today is because I just started it up again. I've done 75 Hard a handful of times in my life. You guys have probably heard me talk about it a little bit before, but I wanted to share it with you again. And I wanted to invite you guys to join me on this journey if you are so inclined. So, what is 75 Hard? 75 Hard is a mental toughness program rather than a standard fitness challenge. It is designed to build discipline, grit, and self-belief by requiring participants to complete 5 strict daily tasks for 75 consecutive days with 0 compromises or substitutions. And so, guys, if you're lacking a little bit of discipline in your life, we talk a lot about one of the ways that you can build confidence in your life is keeping the promises that you make to yourself. If you have a little bit of trouble, even today, we decided that we were going to start doing this 75 Hard this morning. And I knew that one of the toughest things that I was going to have to face is just getting up in the morning earlier than normal and actually throwing on my workout clothes and getting the first workout and some of the water done. But we talk about that on the show where, how many times have you decided, Friday night, Saturday night, hey, this is it. This is my last cheat meal. Come Monday, I'm going to go grocery shopping on Sunday. Come Monday, I'm going to go and I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to exercise, whatever it is in life. Hey, I'm going to save 10% of my income, and then you get paid and your bills stack up and the 10% gets spent. So important to keep the little promises that you make to yourself in life. And so this helps with that immensely. And then, guys and gals, for those of you that aren't in tip-top shape, that aren't, physically the way that you want to be, whether it's overweight like me, or even if it's just like, I love my son, but, he's, 19 years old and 6'1.5" and weighs about 150 pounds. So he's thin, but man, I'm pretty sure, like if he had to go, run a mile, he'd be dead, halfway through it. He's definitely not in good cardiovascular shape and, and that kind of thing. So you don't have to necessarily be overweight to be out of shape, but even though it's not a fitness challenge, you cannot help but be way better off fitness wise in the 75 days. So let me go through what we do here with the 75 hard. So here's the 5 daily rules. If you fail any of these tasks, even by a small margin, you must restart day 1. And that's part of the mental toughness, guys. Like, I knew a guy that went 66 days, and on the 67th day, he literally, on the last bottle of water that he had to drink, the last part of his gallon of water, that's one of the tasks, is to drink a gallon of water. He literally fell asleep with 3 or 4 ounces of water left in his water bottle. So he drank 124 ounces that day on day 66, and he failed. That is a fail. Part of the mental toughness is wrapping your mind around the fact that there's no wiggle room. There's no concessions. There's no, I don't know why I can't think of the right word, but you have to do everything 100%. And a lot of people, you can tell if you need to do this program if you read the rules. And some of the things that you say to yourself is, well, like a gallon of water, that's a lot of water. I think if I did everything that he talks about here, but I only drank a half a gallon or 3/4 of a gallon, that'd still be good. Or, like, man, two 45-minute workouts, one outside, one inside. Like, it's cold here in Minnesota, and I think I'm not gonna go do a outdoor workout for 45 minutes in bad weather. There's whatever you want to say, like, okay, like, I'm gonna do 75 hard, but my birthday is on, day 60, and I want to be able to eat, a piece of birthday cake. So I'm just gonna have a little bit of birthday cake on the 60th day. Literally, guys, you pick your diet, and one M&M is a fail. So if you're at a party, having fun, somebody says, hey, you want to bite, you want a cookie, they're coming around with a plate of cookies, you forget kind of that you're doing 75 hard, and in the moment you reach over, you grab a cookie and you take a bite, you just failed, and you got to start over on day 1. And guys, I've done some I've failed several times. And to give you an idea, like, I'm going to go backwards here. Let me just lay out the 5 tasks so you know what you're getting yourselves into. First task is 2 45-minute workouts. One of these must be performed outdoors, regardless of weather conditions, and the workouts must be spaced 3 hours apart. So you can't go do 45-minute walk, take a 10-minute break, and then do another 45 minutes of weightlifting in the gym. You can't condense it down and do an hour and a half workout all at once. It's got to be spaced apart, because once again, it's a mental challenge. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be challenging. But anyways, 2 workouts, one of them's got to be outdoors, and it's got to be 45 minutes long. And, like, literally, something happens, you're outside in your backyard running along, kicking butt, and all of a sudden your neighbor looks over the fence and says, hey, Brad, what are you up to today? You better just say, hey, man, I'm doing a 45-minute workout. I can't talk right now. Because if you stop working out and you go have a 5 or 10-minute conversation with your neighbor, when you come back, you don't just have to do 10 extra minutes. Like, if you were 30 minutes into your workout, you don't just come back and do 15 more minutes. No, your workout was interrupted. And it was interrupted for a long period of time, 5, 10, 15 minutes. That means you got to start over, do the whole 45 minutes again. Now, you're drinking a bunch of water and doing a lot of stuff. So, like, going to the bathroom doesn't count against you. And little things like that. Like, if your neighbor came over and said, hey, Brad, what time is dinner tonight? And you stopped long enough, 20, 30 seconds to say, hey, we're getting together at 6:30 and it's at the Olive Garden over on 4th Street, but I got to get back to my workout. You're okay. Just like in the gym, when you're working out, you're not going to lift weights for 45 minutes continuously. You're going to take little breaks in between sets and stuff like that. That's okay. But my point is, you got to do the whole 45 minutes. I literally had a time where I was playing basketball, and for some reason, my timer stopped. And long story short, I figured it out like after the fact that I had only worked out for about 44 minutes, 43, 44 minutes. By the time I realized it, I was already in my car driving home. I had two choices. I could either go back and do another full 45-minute workout, or I could say that I failed that day and start over on day one. And I'm telling you guys, you're going to have multiple instances during these 75 days where something is going to come up, and you might have to do another workout. Even though you got in 30 minutes of your first workout, you might have to go in and do a full 45 minutes. Anyways, so the 5 tasks, two workouts. That 2 workouts for the 45 minutes each, one outside, probably one of the most challenging parts of the program. The second thing that you have to do every single day is take a progress picture. Progress picture is easy. That's probably the least challenging thing to do. But guess what? It's also probably the number one thing that trips people up. It tripped me up twice. First time I did 75 hard, I woke up and realized that I didn't take my picture on day 18. And I didn't start right back over the next day. I thought, well, okay, I'll give myself a little bit of a break and I'll start over. And then I ended up going almost 3 months without starting over. I realized I made a huge error that time. So the second time I did it, I forgot my picture on day 42, guys. Day 42, I forgot my picture. But that time I started over immediately, didn't take any days off. I just, at day 43 became day 1. And I ended up finishing the program that time. That was the first time I finished the whole 75 hard, but I had to be man enough to look down at my phone, and believe me, I wanted to cry. Like, I was a grown man, 48 years old or something like that. And I literally wanted to break down into tears, man. 42 days of all of these tasks, and I had to start over. But once again, it's a mental toughness. If you can do this challenge and to do it to completion, I would guesstimate, I don't have any exact statistics, I would guesstimate that probably somewhere in a ballpark of around 95% of the people that decide to do 75 hard, 95 out of 100 of them never finish it. 95 out of 100 never make it all the way through all 75 days. So if you can make it through the 75 days, you prove that you've got grit, you've got mental toughness, that you've got the ability to stick to the promises that you make to yourself. And I believe that doing 75 hard can really revolutionize a person's life if they take it serious. So you're going to do 2 45-minute workouts. You're going to take a progress picture. The third thing that you have to do is you got to drink a gallon of water. That can be challenging for some people. For me, it's one of the easiest because I usually drink 3 or 4 bottles of water during my 45-minute workout. So for me, the gallon of water is not that hard. I do have to, make sure that I get it in, and you got to pee. That's part of the reason this isn't going to be the longest live stream, is because I already in 3 bottles of water, a little bit of coffee, and I knew that I'm not going to be able to do no hour-long live stream before I have to go to the bathroom. So for me, I drink 3-4 bottles of water when I work out, and then I got to pee a bunch for the next couple of hours, and then about the 3-4 hours in, it's time to do my next workout. Drink like 3 or 4 bottles of water again. Either have my water all the way done or just have a little bit of water left. And I try to get my water done at a reasonable hour, like 5, 6, 7 at night, so that when I go to bed at night, I don't have to go to the bathroom all night long. If you goof up, and I've done that too. I've had nights where 10 o'clock came around and I had to drink half a gallon, and you drink half a gallon of water at 10 o'clock and you're probably getting up, 3 or 4 times throughout the night. So I'm not doing a very good job of going through these, but 45-minute workouts, drink a gallon of water, take the progress picture, and then you got to read 10 pages a day in a good book. So I'm going to go back. I bought this book by Myron Golden, Trash Man to Cash Man. This is going to be my first book. You have to read at least 10 pages a day, and you have to finish the book that you read. You can't pick up a book and read the first 40 or 50 pages and then decide that you don't like that book. So be careful when you're picking your book, and make sure that it's something that you're going to want to read. If not, you're just going to discipline yourself through it. If you got a two or 300 page book, it's only 20, 30 days. So even if you're not enjoying the book, as far as the discipline goes, once you pick a book and you start reading it, you have to finish that book. So those are, and then last but not least, follow a diet. Choose any structured nutrition plan geared towards your goals, but it must include 0 alcohol and 0 cheat meals. So once again, this is tough on some people. For me, not being a drinker, it's not a big deal. But that's the other reason I think this is so valuable. Like, if you heard that rule just now and immediately thought, nope, never mind, this challenge isn't for me, then maybe you might want to consider whether or not you have any kind of an unhealthy dependence on alcohol. If the thought of going 75 days without any alcohol is scary to you, or your initial gut reaction was, I'm not doing this program if I can't drink for 75 days, then that's probably a very good indication that maybe this would be a great program for you. Because if you literally, the idea of not drinking for 75 days bothers you, scares you, you don't think you can do it, then you probably have a little bit more of a dependency on alcohol than you might care to admit. So those are the 5 things. Follow a diet. I'm going to be doing a ketogenic, low carb diet. Absolutely 0 sweets. As little sugar as possible. So like, I even cut out stuff like ketchup for the most part when I'm doing this, because ketchup has more sugar in it sometimes, than soda pop or whatever. So try to stay away from anything that's got a bunch of sugar in it. Eat ketogenically friendly, and and like I said, no alcohol and no cheat meals. So since I'm ketogenic, if I decided to go eat a bowl of spaghetti, I'd have to start over the next day, because obviously pasta is not keto friendly. So once again, now, like, I do have a very low, like a keto bread that is okay, but I can't go to a restaurant and eat a regular hamburger bun, say. I have keto wraps, like like the tortillas. I've got some keto tortillas. Those would be okay, but I can't go to a Mexican restaurant and eat flour tortillas. So you kind of get the point. And even one is a cheat. Even one, it would be enough to make me have to start over on day 1. So you follow a diet, 2 45-minute workouts, drink a gallon of water, you read 10 pages a day in a nonfiction book. So that's another thing I should have said. When you're reading a book, you want to be reading a book that is feeding your mind. So a nonfiction book doesn't necessarily have to just be, personal development, positive thinking type of a book. You could maybe, you might read an autobiography by somebody famous that you really like, and you want to learn more about how they became successful or their mindset. That would be okay. But you can't go read, a John Sanford novel for your 10 pages. And then once again, take a progress picture. Official website, detailed guides and articles are available on andyfrisella.com. So I recommend, if what we're doing here is interesting to you, go ahead and go to this page. I'll post the website here real quick. Go to this page. Dave says he's a cookie monster. Go to this page and you can see everything. Check it out a little bit more here on this page. Really talks about everything that you got to do. There's also an app that you can download on your phone for $5, I think it is, that has a checklist. And so I realized very quickly that I didn't want to try to keep track of all of this every single day on my, on a piece of paper or just in my head. Like, that's an almost for sure way to fail. So I definitely recommend grabbing this app and then using it, so you can see there I've got my 45-minute outdoor workout checked off, and I took my progress picture. But this app comes in super super handy to help keep you on track. One of the things that it doesn't do is, um, when you're drinking your gallon of water, it's just got one check mark at the very end. So you have to kind of keep track of your water. And that, you might want to write that down. I've had a lot of days where I got down to the end of the day and I'm like, did I drink 7 bottles or 8 bottles? Because if you take 8 of your normal, like 16-ounce bottle of waters, like the normal, 24 pack of waters that you buy at your local grocery store, 8 of those is a gallon, 128 ounces. And I've had a few times where I got to the end of the day and I couldn't remember if I drank 7 or 8, and so I drank an extra bottle just to be safe. But now the good news, if you are looking to lose some weight, this is a pretty good weight loss program. Between drinking all of that water, which then in most people's cases, that helps you to get away from maybe some of the other high calorie drinks that you're drinking, because when you're drinking a gallon of water, you don't have a whole lot of room for extra stuff. And then, like for me, I'm back to my black iced coffee, because the Golden Eagles, even though they're sugar free, they're not low enough carb. They still got carbs. All of the half and half in it has a decent amount of carbs. So I'm cutting out, a few hundred calories a day by going back to black iced coffee. So with me doing a low ketogenically friendly diet and working out twice a day, I normally drop around 25 or 30 pounds in those 75 days. So for those of you that, want to get rid of a little bit of extra weight, even though weight loss isn't the absolutely oh, my wife distracted me. Thank you for showing up though. I'm glad to have you on here, but I noticed your comment out of the corner of my eye, so I lost my train of thought. But she comes up with a good point. At the bottom, I guess it has a note spot where you can write how much water you drink, so you can kind of keep track of your water as you go, which can come in super handy. So back to the weight loss. But if you are somebody that has a few extra pounds that you want to lose, you will end up losing weight on this challenge if you do it right. But once again, the most important thing is the mental toughness. You're going to have a day where maybe you got started a little bit late. All of a sudden it's, like I literally have had a couple of days, not very many, but a couple over the course of doing this 4 or 5, 6 times, where I remember one time where for whatever reason, I hadn't done my first workout yet and it was 10 p.m. So I literally had to work out from 10 to 11, 10 to 10:45, and then I had to wait until 2:45 a.m. and do my other workout. Andy Frisella talks about, 1 o'clock in the morning and he hadn't done his outdoor workout. So he drug his exercise bike out into the driveway and did his 45 minutes on his exercise bike at 1 in the morning. And so those times are actually where you start to build this powerful persona, this confidence that says, I can do anything that I set my mind to if I can do this. And so when you have that day where, 10 o'clock rolls around and you still got half a gallon of water to drink, you don't just say, well, I'm only 5 days in, so what the heck, I'll just start over tomorrow because I don't feel like drinking a half a gallon of water and peeing all day. No, you go drink your half a gallon of water. Same thing, like I broke my leg the first time that I was successful. So day 42, I forget my pitcher. I'm all the way to about day 60. So now you're talking 42 days plus 60 new days. I'm at a little over 100 days straight of doing this, and I break my leg. And I went to the hospital that day. We went right to the emergency room. But the first thing I told my wife, and I was in the middle of doing my first workout, by the way. So I get to the hospital. I haven't even done a workout. But I told my wife, like, before I even was done at the hospital, after doing this for over 100 days, I was like, as long as they discharge me, if they don't keep me overnight, I'm I'm doing my 2 workouts. And I did. So I literally got home from the hospital with my leg all wrapped up and a boot on my leg at like 5 p.m., broken leg. And I went out into my backyard and I sat down in my chair, and I had all of my dumbbells and my weights, and I lifted weights, curls and whatever. I lifted weights twice that night. And for the next 14 days, my 2 workouts a day were were upper body workouts. Literally, guys, my leg was broke bad enough that we had stairs to go up to our bedroom. I didn't sleep in my bedroom for a couple of weeks. We made a bed downstairs so that I wouldn't have to go up the stairs. So it wasn't, it was a pretty good fracture, pretty good break, but it didn't stop me from doing 75 hard. You get sick, you got a flu, so what? That's one of the things that you'll find about this too, is like so many little teeny tiny things that stop most people. Oh, I got a flu, I can't work today. Guys, I did this through many different sicknesses. And yeah, you move a little slower, you do a little bit less, maybe you just do walks for your 45 minutes. But guys, it's just 45 minutes twice. Like, yeah, it sucks and maybe it's painful and it hurts and it's no fun, but one of the things I've realized about life is there's a lot of fun in life and a lot of enjoyment, a lot of pleasure. I want you guys to win in life, but in order to win, you also have to be able to go through some pain. You got to go through, like, the second time that I finished this, my father passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. I got a call that morning that in fact, I was doing my first 45-minute workout of the day, and my father tried to call me before he went while he was on his walk. Turns out we were both working out at the same time, and I didn't get the phone call from my dad. I didn't talk to my dad that morning. And then I get done with my workout, and while my dad was on his walk, he had a heart attack and passed away. And I get that phone call a little bit later in the day. There was never a doubt in my mind as to whether or not I was going to finish 75 hard, man. I went down to the basketball court a little bit later that day and I bawled. I cried my eyes out the whole time I was shooting baskets, man. 45 minutes. If anybody was around, they would have wondered what in the heck was wrong with me. But I finished it. So, anyways, on that note, this was a little bit of a rough breakdown of it. Anybody want to join me with it? Anybody that's watching, throw a one in the chat. Just because you're going to get started, a day or 2 or 3 or a week later, if you want to commit and be a part of this, and we can kind of help keep each other accountable, throw a one in the chat so I know that this is something that you want to do, that you believe would be life changing for you, and you want to go for it. And that way we can stay accountable. Once again, I understand it takes you want to do a little bit of grocery shop and you want to get ready. So I'm not saying you got to start today, but even if we're within 3, 4, 5 days a week of each other, it would still be awesome to know that there's a few of us that are making this happen and that are striving to get this done. So if that's you, go ahead and throw one in the chat. And on that note, guys, still went a little bit longer than I thought I would, but I do think that this could be very, very instrumental, life-changing. You're gonna learn how to manage your time. For those of you that aren't great with time management and it seems like you never have enough time to get everything done, you're going to start figuring it out. When you got 2 workouts to do and you got kids to take care of and all of the different stuff in life, you got a job, you got kids, and you're like, how do I get all this done? I promise you can. Thousands and thousands of people that have kids, that have jobs, that have businesses have figured out how to do 75 hard, and you can be one of them. So with that, guys, I am going to let you go enjoy the rest of your Monday. God bless you all. Thank you for being here. Hope you got a little bit of value out of this. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the Tuesday Trader live stream. Should be an interesting live stream. Bitcoin doesn't seem to have been able to decide what it wants to do. What are we at here today with Bitcoin? 93, so it popped back up a little bit from the 94 4,000, although it's still showing us down 2%, but I could have swore it was all the way down to 92 yesterday and has bounced back up, but it might have started higher, went all the way down to 92, then bounced back to 93. But yeah, tomorrow should be a good day to go through our trader live stream. And so with that, guys, I love y'all, and we will see you again soon.